We have a president of our board here, I believe, Selden Spencer. If everybody could give him a round of applause. He has been fantastic. He has helped get resolutions out to several different counties, helping to make it possible for us. We have gotten resolutions in counties from Sioux County to Winneshiek to Lee County to Page County and all in between. I believe that we actually hit since January 47 counties. Woo. Since January. Whether it was getting them in their hands, getting it emailed to the chair who was getting it out for us or whatever, 47 counties that are getting those out into their precincts. And ones that we've spoke at, including you spoke at League of Women Voters, we spoke at several Central Committee meetings, and even a couple of colleges, including Indian Hills. So that's been amazing. And that also is an opportunity to talk to people that are not just Democrats, but also people who are not Democrats. You know, we need to reach outside and not just be preaching to the choir, but talking to anybody and everybody. Because the one thing that we found as we're going around talking to people is a lot of them don't know or don't understand, like we do, what we're dealing with. That there's the number of people that are not represented and don't have a voice, don't have a vote. They're not a part of a state. It's not all the politicians and lobbyists and they should just go back to their home state and vote. We're talking about the teachers and the construction workers and the small business owners and the Uber drivers and, you know, the people that live there, that this is their home. And they deserve the same rights as every other American in this country and to be represented the same way as well. Amen. So, all right, that's enough of the preaching to the choir. Thank you, everybody, for everything that you've done. I do want to make sure, too, I have another board member here. I don't want to be remiss. He is Kent Balducci. I had the honor of being his...
I didn't have a mouthful.
I had the honor of being his campaign manager when he ran for House District 30. Kent's a great guy, and I was so blessed when he was willing to come on board and help us out as a board member as we were getting the organization going. So thank you to you as well. I know Leanne, who's our treasurer, couldn't be here, unfortunately, and I think Jackie was coming. But we were at a previous event and I think she got tied up. As again, all of us I think are kind of, who here has been to more than one event in the last 24 hours? Raise your hand. Yeah, see, there you go. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time to be here with us, to let us say thank you to each and every one of you in this room, whether you're from DC and been a partner and a mentor in helping us to get organized to help you, or the people here on the ground that have helped us with doing events. We have a lot of stuff coming up this year that we're going to need more help with. You know, we've got the RAGBRAI and Iowa Ride this year, so that's going to be bunches of fun, right? And lots of other things. We're excited that the bill is getting marked up in committee. It's moving forward, February 11th. There's still stuff happening. We still have momentum. We have to keep it going. And that's going to take all of us continuing, and I think the key to moving that needle is people outside of DC standing up for them and saying, hey, this has got to change. And then we can start it, but we have to help to grow it. We have to be willing and able and out there to help grow it in other states as well and make sure that this continues to spread education and enthusiasm across the country for what is right. Yep. So, thank you. With that, I would like to give each of our DC delegation a chance to talk to you briefly, and you get to know them, and then they'll be able to mingle with you too here for a little bit. We're keeping this pretty casual, so how about Representative Garcia?
All right.
Would you come up?
Let me thank the folks here in Iowa. I am telling you, I am so excited, and it's a privilege and an honor to be here. And we were here 4 years ago. We were very, very impressed with what we saw. It was the first time that I had exposure to the state of Iowa. And I left, and everywhere I spoke in DC and beyond, I spoke about the beautiful state of Iowa. So give yourself a round of applause for being incredible and so welcoming to people like myself who are coming in here really looking for something, because that's what we are here for. And so let me thank the incredible work of Iowans for DC Statehood in the leadership of Tamara Harrison and her husband Paul, and everybody else who is here, who is part of that incredible organization. You guys are doing incredible work that extends way beyond the frontiers and the borders of Iowa. We see the work you're doing here, and we applaud it in the nation's capital, and we hope that we can only replicate that work in other states. That's really what we want to do. You know, here in Iowa, the reason why we do this, listen to this. I was born in the Dominican Republic and arrived in DC when I was 10. So here I am in Iowa. Listen to the logic here. I'm in Iowa teaching kids from Ohio about DC history. Only in America can you see that. And that's exactly what's at play here. So shifting a little bit to the national scope, it's important that people in Iowa recognize what's at play, what's in play here. The stakes are very, very high. And so we want to ensure that we preserve our American values. And one of them, for sure, is ensuring that we have representation in the U.S. Congress for every taxpaying citizen. I was talking yesterday to somebody, and I forget who it was, about the age limit. There's some places that are talking about reducing the voting age to 16. I know in the District of Columbia, that's an initiative that we have started. And in some countries, like Brazil, some cities in Germany, it's already taking place. And the reason why they do this is because one of the justification, I went online and I looked it up, it's because at that age, they consider people to start working and paying taxes. And so they figure that, well, if this is at that age when people start paying taxes, they should be represented, and therefore it makes sense for us to lower the age because they're paying taxes and they're not represented. Well, that's exactly what goes on and has been going on in the District of Columbia for more than nearly 220 years. We have been paying federal taxes without representation, and that has got to change. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work you're doing on behalf of DC Statehood and for the people of your national capital. This is a national issue. It is not just an issue of DC. It's a national issue that I hope other states will jump in and do exactly what you guys are doing. Thank you. Real quickly, folks, what we do in the District of Columbia is we recognize people who contribute to the cause of statehood every year. And so we have people from our delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton, to our chairman of the board, Phil Menderson, who did incredible work throughout the year to further our work on statehood. And so we were very, very happy to honor the work you guys are doing here in Iowa for DC Statehood. And I know that you weren't able to be with us when we have the event that takes place in December, the middle of December. And so we wanted to make sure that we came here in person to actually present this to you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you very much. This means a lot, and it's, you know, it's not just me. I mean, this is my husband, this is Selden, this is Kent, Leanne, Jackie, Jennifer, you know, all the volunteers. This is everybody. This is them recognizing what we're doing. I'm sorry?
Brummels.
Always the Brummels. But everybody that's helped us, and you know, this is for everybody. And let's keep doing what we're doing and keep making a difference. And I thank you very, very, very much.
Sí se puede.
I would like to introduce now briefly Senator Michael Brown. And Senator, I met him last time when he was out here, got to stay in touch a little bit over the years. And in fact, one of the highlights of the last couple years, I got to be on his radio podcast.
Wow, you were great.
Along with a Republican congresswoman. What was her name again?
I can't remember.
You can't remember? She was on your show.
I'm a Republican.
but that supports DC Statehood. I mean, it was kind of an interesting experience.
That's my co-host, my Republican.
Your co-host, yes. I was like, you can't remember?
No, Maria Sanchez.
Maria Sanchez.
She wasn't a member of Congress. She was a leader of the Republican Party in Southern California.
Oh, okay. Well,
Big
hey, that's
support.
just as cool a thing for who it was. So I apologize for the mix-up. Thank you for correcting me. I want to make sure I get that right. But it's been an honor meeting you and you know, having you out here yet again. So if you'd come up and say a few words.
Thank you so much. You know, I have so many people to thank. Certainly at the top of the list is Tamara, Thank you so much. You've been amazing, Tamara. Thanks so much for making your husband an indentured servant. He's waited on us hand and foot, and is an amazing guy. He's an encyclopedia of Iowa politics. It's been so great driving around in a car with him and learning so much. And, you know, I also want to thank my colleague, Senator Strauss, who first met Tamara and started this thing going. You guys don't know how we brag about you in Washington. We do it all the time. We bring up your name all the time because this is what's important to us, is that people outside the District of Columbia support us. We know that 80% of the people in the District of Columbia support us, but we can't bestow statehood upon ourselves, because if we could, we would have had it 200 years ago. So thank you so much for doing that. I also want to thank our staff that's here, Rachel Williams from the mayor's office, Angelie, who makes sure we get where we're going and we do the right thing, and Inez and Patrick and Nelson and all the other people that have helped us in the district, you know, helped us come out here to Iowa and do this thing. And again, it's just so important. And we love you, Tamara. You know, I told your husband today that when I retire, I plan to be president of the Tamara Harrison fan club. I'm sure that will be a full-time job. We don't go anywhere to any event. We've already been to 4 events. We don't go anywhere where we don't bring up this woman's name and people have wonderful things to say about her. So you know, it's not just us that appreciate her. She's appreciated by Iowans everywhere. And I brought my daughter Trisha with me from Chicago. Because you people are the most amazing people. And I said to my wife, I want her to experience I've been in politics for 40 years. I want her to experience the nicest political event in America. This is really, the caucuses are really what democracy is all about. People sitting in a room, instead of yelling at each other, you know, talking about the issues. And, you know, it's just amazing. There was a caucus in 2016 which tied, and they cut a deck of cards. I couldn't believe it, that in Washington, D.C., fighting each other over who did what and what was being done. And this is what's tearing America apart. We don't need to resist. We need to come together somehow. And if there's any hope of doing that, it lies in things like the Iowa caucuses. So thank you very much. And one last thing, we've been to Joni Ernst's office several times, trying to get her to be a co-signer because she's a veteran, and we have 30,000 veterans who are not recognized, and she's turned a deaf ear. So the last thing I have to say to you is vote for Eddie. Thank you. Are you going to say some things?
Tamara.
All right, Tamara, thanks.
Let's let Rachel say a word or two, bring a greeting on behalf of the mayor.
Yeah, we're going to have Rachel come up here briefly. She's from the mayor of DC's office, and we were lucky to have her come out and join us as well. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Thank you so much, Tamara, and thank you so much for all of your hard work and the work that you do. And thank you, all of you, for coming out and for supporting DC Statehood. And this is from the mayor's office. Welcome and thank you. We really have been talking a lot to ourselves historically. And what we've really been trying to do in Mayor Bowser's office is launch a national campaign. So the fact that we have so many people somewhat so far away from DC who are so engaged and so passionate about this issue is really incredible. And this is something that we want to take and spread all throughout the country. And you know, we believe it's really not going to happen until we have everyday people bringing this issue to their representatives and making it an issue, because even though we're in DC and we're right there, right down the street from the Capitol, right down from the seat of power, and we go down there and we talk to congressmen and senators, the number one thing that we hear is that this is not an issue that is really important to my constituents. This is not something that, you know, I hear about. It's not something that matters, and not something that I'm willing to stick my neck out and risk my political capital on. At this point, until it's brought to me by my people. So we're on this national campaign right now to really, you know, raise this issue from the bottom up, make it an issue that they have to deal with. So on behalf of the mayor's office, thank you to our shadow delegation, and I should mention, we have these pamphlets that are on all the tables. You'll notice on the last page, the mayor has commissioned the new Columbia Statehood Commission, and she chairs it with our council chairman Mendelson, and our shadow delegation is also on the commission. So that makes up our new Columbia Statehood Commission, and it's a new initiative, and I'm the first and only to date full-time DC government employee dedicated to focus on making statehood happen for the District of Columbia. So on behalf of the mayor's office, thank you all so much, and thank you, Tamara, for this opportunity. We really couldn't do it without you.
Great. And now last but certainly not least by any means, because this next gentleman is the man that is why I'm standing here right now. I got an introduction from a mutual friend, Brent Roski, and I didn't realize how much I didn't know and understand, and I did an event for DC Statehood and realized I had a passion for this. This was wrong, and I wanted to and thought that I could make a difference, and so I've been working with him ever since. And he's been a tremendous mentor and a friend, and I would like to welcome Senator Paul Strauss.
Thank you, Tamara. And the purpose of the event today for us is really to thank all of you who have made this such a dynamic movement. When I first came to Iowa, it was initially a side trip for another purpose. And my friend Brent Roski said, you know, who was living out here, I called him and said, let's catch up, I'm going to be in Iowa. And he said, you know, Senator, if you're going to be here, you should at least check in on the Polk County Democrats. They're a great group. I know the executive director, Tamara. Let's set up a little breakfast. And I said, sure, that's a great idea. And a few weeks later, I get a call from a reporter at MSNBC, Alex Sainz-Walt. And he said, hey, Senator, I see you're going to the Polk County Democratic Committee. You're going to have be at one of their breakfasts. I said, yeah, I hear they're a wonderful group. I'm going to be in Iowa, and I look forward to it. And he said, well, you know, it's interesting. I've looked at their calendar, and they've got the vice president's been out there. They have Martin O'Malley speaking. They have Jim Webb. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but as he began to tell me the list, it looked like all of those folks were then being talked about as presidential candidates. And I said, well, that's very interesting. I hear they're a great group. I can understand why so many people want to talk to them. And he goes, Senator, there's only one reason why U.S. senators go to Iowa a year before the caucuses. And I still wasn't catching on. And I said, okay. And he says, are you running for president? And I said, what, are you crazy? And then he goes, well, that's not a no. And yes, that was my reaction too. And he says, what should I print? I'm like, print whatever you want. And you know, for like a few weeks, it was an interesting side story. But I came out and I met these wonderful folks. And what we delivered was our message of the reality of the political situation that we face in the District of Columbia. The reality that well over 700,000 of your fellow American citizens, and assuming we get a fair count in the census this time, we'll know the exact number by this time next year, we hope, don't have the basic American democratic rights that everybody else in the country takes for granted, but that you here in the great state of Iowa celebrate and take to this special level through your caucus process, through the level of civic engagement. And so we do go around the country and we do talk to people from other states, but it's different here because what makes it different is the relationship between the people of Iowa and your democracy. The democracy that right now is becoming more and more endangered, more and more fragile, but that you continue to restore and keep alive through your commitment. You know, I go to places where it's hard to get people to come out to vote, and tomorrow night, you guys are going to do so much more than that. You're going to come out, you're going to spend hours in a room with your neighbors, you're going to brave weather that, although it's a lovely day today, often makes getting somewhere challenging, and you're going to recommit yourself to the values of the founding folks who made our country what has been an inspiration to the people around the world. And we thank you for that. And of course, in addition to picking presidential candidates, you're going to vote on issue resolutions too, which is a part of the caucus process that people don't really know about. And so I'm proud to be able to, as I go back, help explain to other parts of the country just exactly how important and integral your caucus process is, how it does so much more than just be a straw poll where you do it each year. And let me tell you, there's been a big difference when we tried this just 4 years ago and the progress we've made now. And people say, what do you attribute that to? And my first answer is, of course, the efforts of people like Tamara and the volunteers in this room, our board members. You guys have helped really make this an issue that has now gone statewide. And because of the unique national attention that you have, that gets us the kind of national and international attention that we've been fighting for. But that has given us momentum in DC. So we will be having the DC Statehood bill voted on by the relevant committee in the House on February 11th. And then we expect it to go to the floor and pass. And we will have that bill pass the House of Representatives, where, I don't want to kid anybody, we know it will go to the Senate, and it will probably do about as well as impeachment. But think about it, 4 years ago, this was a fringe, considered by some to be a fringe issue that not a lot of people had heard about. And today it is a national issue. Every presidential candidate that has visited this state and gone around the country has committed to it on the Democratic Party, and that is just extraordinary. And that is because of the efforts of the people in this room, and we can't thank you enough. I'm glad that we were able to give you a little bit, a token of our appreciation. But for everyone that's here today, and for everyone that's going to go out and pass a resolution and caucus for us tomorrow night, we thank you. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We seek only the privileges that you have and that so many take for granted. The District of Columbia is a diverse and wonderful community. It has been a historically African-American community, but it has become more racially diverse. It's now about 50% African-American. We have a large and growing Latino population. We have an Asian population. And even amongst our white community, it is a diverse population. Let me see how I can, we have a lot of liberal people, we have gay people, we have Jewish people. To put it in Iowa terms, they're the kind of white folks that even Stephen King doesn't like. But we just want to be part of this same democracy that you not only enjoy but celebrate, and hold us as a shining example to those of us around the country. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Senator. All right, so we're going to end this. Feel free to stay in casual mingle. They're willing to talk to people, answer questions. They'd love to do that. We'll be here for a little bit. There's a lot of food still out there, so please eat food.